Hey guys, it's Cimorelli. Welcome to my second channel. You probably know me from my main channel, Cimorelli, the band I'm in with my sisters. This is my personal channel where I talk a lot more about like motherhood and pregnancy and personal life stuff. And I am making such an exciting video today, the birth story of my daughter, Tristan. And this is a video that I dreamed of making because it's the story of my VBAC. So we're just gonna jump right in. I got some notes written down over here. I got it all written down. Just talked to my doula, and she got me reminded of a bunch of the details that I could not remember. But basically, I had a VBAC with a 10-pound baby and no epidural, which was my goal. My goal wasn't a 10-pound baby, but my goal was not to have an epidural for a bunch of reasons. I think I'll talk about that I'm gonna make a video of all the things that really helped me not use the epidural and like prepare for birth and like help me during labor and stuff. I did already make a video of all the things I'm doing, and now I'm gonna make a video about like what helped the most. So if you wanna see that video, I will have it linked down below, the one of all the things I did to prepare. Oh, and if you're wondering why didn't I want the epidural, there's a bunch of reasons. I did a post on my Instagram about it, but I basically just wanted like independence. I wanted to be like in control and not be like stuck on the bed basically. And I wanted to like be able to tune into my body and be like, okay, my body's telling me get in this position, okay, go in that position, stuff like that. And then also a part of me wanted to know if I could do it, because so many people say like you'll be begging for the epidural, or basically people say like you won't be able to handle it. And I was like, am I really not gonna be able to handle it? I handled it. So I'm really excited about that. And by the way, people get really touchy about this stuff. So I'm not gonna do like a million disclaimers or anything, but I'm not commenting on your birth if you use an epidural. I'm just talking about my birth. So you don't need to come, well, you can if you want, but you don't need to come at me. I'm just talking about my birth, so. Okay, so let's jump in. So I was 40 weeks and 2 days. It was a Sunday. And I was like, past my due date, which is actually pretty normal if you're not induced to go past your due date. I was looking up all the statistics and it's like very normal, but it feels like it's not, because it's really common to get induced before your due date. So I was just like, feels like it's taking forever, blah, 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 whatever. And then it was really weird. Like that day, I had this weird like feeling that evening. I had this like weird peaceful feeling come over me when I was in church. So it seemed like a bunch of the songs in church were about like strength and like relying on God and being able to depend on him and stuff like that. And I don't know, it just like hit me. And I was like, I'm gonna have this baby really soon. And I feel like I can just rely on God. I can trust him. And I don't know, I just felt really connected to God, and I felt like she was gonna come really soon. So then I posted on my story that night and I was like, this pregnancy is coming to an end. Can you guys pray for me? Blah, blah. And I had a feeling that I was gonna go into labor when I posted that, but I was like, do I really have a feeling, or am I just making this up, basically? So then, I think midnight I was woken up by like my normal insomnia. So I was like, I'm awake, okay, let's go drink some tea and whatever. And then I tried to go back to sleep, and then around 1, I started to feel this feeling, and I felt like it was in my cervix is what it felt like. And it was like this ache, and then it would stop, and then it would like come back, and then it would stop, and then it would come back. And I was like, maybe this is contractions. I didn't feel like a wave or anything, so I was like, it doesn't really feel like what people are saying, so maybe it's not, but maybe I'll just start timing these aches and just see if there's any kind of like pattern. So I started timing them, and I don't remember how far apart they were, maybe like 10 minutes, I don't know. And then they started to get stronger. So eventually I was like walking around the house. I got in the bathtub. For some reason I didn't like being in the bath because I felt like I was like alone. I wanted to be able to be like near Nick, but I don't know, it didn't make sense. So they started getting a little stronger, and I started being kind of like breathing through them a little more, like, or like just breathing, whatever. Trying to use my like hypnobirthing stuff. I had the Christian hypnobirthing app. It was very helpful. And I was listening to Jira, our cover of Waymaker, and our cover of King of My Heart, which is kind of funny. It was ours. I like Jira because it's 10 minutes long. That's a Christian song if you don't know. It's really good. Oh, we covered it. So I was listening to those like in the bathtub and stuff, and it was like feeling really like spiritual and peaceful. And then, you know, the hours were going on. I didn't want to wake up Nick because he had not been feeling well. So I was like, oh no, this would be such bad timing if he's sick. He wakes up feeling really sick today, and I need his support like all day. So I was kind of panicking about that a little bit, but I was like, I'm just gonna let him sleep because I don't need him yet. And I'm hoping that if he can sleep, And if this is like real labor, I didn't know if it was like prodromal labor. It was just gonna start and stop. I didn't know if it was real or not, so I was hoping it was real. So I was like, I'm gonna let Nick sleep and I'm just gonna keep going by myself because I don't need him yet. So then I went out. I tried to get back in bed and I could not. I absolutely could not be lying down with the contractions. I just couldn't do it. So I went out to the living room and I laid on the couch and then I rolled off every contraction and was like on my knees, like hands and knees, or like up on the couch and then knees on the ground. And then I would get back on the couch and then roll off every single contraction the entire night. I don't know when I went there, like 2 or 3 a.m. I stayed there for the rest until the morning. I stayed there and I didn't get any more sleep. So I've been up since midnight. So I'm rolling off all these contractions. A few times I was like, maybe I'll sit in the ball. No, absolutely no sitting. No sitting, no lying down. My body was not having it. I had to be leaning forward like against the wall, the counter, or on hands and knees for every contraction. And there was like one that happened that just took my breath away. It was like really strong. I was like, what was that? And that scared me a little bit because it was like really intense. So things were like sometimes like 6 or 5 minutes apart and then sometimes like 17 minutes apart. It wasn't like super consistent, but it wasn't, 17 was like the longest amount of time I think there was between any. Mostly it was like 5 to 10 minutes apart. So I wanted to labor at home as long as I could. I didn't want like my focus to break like on the car ride and being in the hospital. I really wanted to stay in the zone because I know how important that is, like your hormones are for everything because they're controlling everything. So labored down there in the living room and then Nick came in at like 6 a.m., 7, and he's like, hey, are you okay? And I was like, yeah, I'm having contractions. I don't know if it's prodromal labor or if it's like the real thing, but you need to not go to work until we know that it's not real. So then I texted my mom to come over and play with Barrett because every several minutes I was like, ooh, I was like, what was I doing? I was like, I was doing like a low sound because you don't do like the high clenched sound. You don't want to clench all your muscles. It makes it worse. So I was doing like these low sounds and trying to breathe through everything, and it was definitely getting more painful, and I was getting a little bit worried because I was like, I don't feel like I'm that far along here, and it's kind of like challenging me a little bit already. So I was getting like worried because I was like, I've never been through this before. My C-section, I should put that link down below. My C-section story, I didn't labor at all. It was just emergency one, like right away after my water broke and I was bleeding a lot. So I didn't labor at all. I didn't really know what to expect. And I was like, how much worse is this gonna get? Like how hard is this gonna be? I don't know. So I was getting nervous. So then I was like, okay, Nick, I need you to like be with me and let's go into like our room. So my mom came over and Barrett, my son, he's 2, he started getting like kind of scared when I'd be like, oh, and I would like breathe through it. It wasn't like I was in like torturous pain or anything, but he was just getting a little scared. I'm so sad. So he was asking to like hug me and stuff. And I was like, we need to get him where he can't hear me. I don't think I was that loud, but he was just like really tuned in. So tried to get away so he couldn't hear very much anymore. And I labored in our room with Nick for a while, a few hours, and called my doula, asked her for advice, and she was like, yeah, just keep going at home until you feel like it really like picks up more. I got in the shower and that was so much relief at that point. Oh my gosh, it was so much relief. That helped so much. So I labored in the shower for a while. Then I came out and I had Nick start doing like counter pressure on my back, and that helped so much. So every single time one would happen, I was like laying on the bed and I would roll off the bed and lean over the bed and then he would do the counter pressure. So then finally, when we got to like 1 something, it started to get more intense and things were getting closer together, like closer to 3 minutes sometimes. But it was kind of confusing though, because I was like, I don't really know how far along I am. So it was like 5, 7, and then some would be like 4, and then I think some were 3. So I called the doula and I was like, yeah, I think I should go in now because it was a 30-minute drive, and I was like, I don't want it to be more intense on the drive than it is now. I was like really nervous about the drive. I was like, this is gonna be horrible because I knew that Nick couldn't be helping me while he's driving, obviously. So we packed up the car. I had everything totally ready to go, obviously you'd hope at 40 weeks and 3 days. And I ate a muffin in the car and I was drinking a bunch of my water with electrolytes in it. And I brought a pillow in the car and I was like laying down on my side, and then I would roll off and kneel on the ground and put my head on the bench in the back and have each contraction, and it was about every 3 to 5 minutes. So I'd be like, okay, 3 minutes, let me roll down and be ready. So then we got to the hospital. I went up, and at this point we got there at like 2 something, and I didn't know how far along I would be. I had listened to so many birth stories, particularly the VBAC link birth stories. Best podcast ever for preparing for VBAC, so good. And I knew that there's so many times where women would like labor for a while and it'd be like really hard work and they'd only be dilated 1 centimeter. So I was like, I could not be that dilated. I mean, I don't know what's gonna happen. I didn't want to get like too down on myself if I wasn't. So the midwife came in and checked me, and I had a doctor who was like my main doctor, but there are midwives at the hospital who are like always there, so it was gonna be like her and my OB, at least I thought. And so anyway, she checked me and I was a 3, and this was after starting at like 1 a.m. so it was like 13 hours later. I was a 3, which I probably would have thought would have been a little farther along, but I was like, whatever. I wasn't like too discouraged because I thought like things could speed up any minute. Anytime they could speed up. I've heard so many birth stories where they did. So I wasn't too discouraged. The only thing that really discouraged me was that I couldn't be admitted yet, and I really wanted to be admitted so I could get out of triage and get into the room and like set everything up and get in the shower and everything. So that was what was really disappointing, was like, I can't be admitted yet. So they're like, we'll check you again in an hour. So I was like, I have to be in here for an hour? So I was upset. I didn't really wish I had waited longer to go there though, because I was so scared of that car ride. That anxiety was really like getting to me, so I think I needed to do that for myself, whatever. So that hour kind of sucked. It wasn't the best. It wasn't horrible, but it wasn't the best. But I started to get a little more worried, and I was like, you know, it's in like the 3 o'clock hour, I think, and it's been a while, and I don't know how much longer I have, and I'm already like feeling like really challenged by these. Everything was pretty consistently 3 minutes apart at that point, but I wasn't super dilated. So it was like pretty strong contractions, and I didn't know how strong they were. I was like, how strong are these? I don't know. If I'm this early, then are these not very strong? And they're gonna get like 10 billion times worse than this? So I was thinking it was gonna get so much worse and I wasn't gonna be able to handle it. So I was thinking like, I don't know if I'm gonna need the epidural because I feel like I'm exhausted, I need to rest, and I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do this without it. So I was getting kind of stressed about how bad was it gonna get. And there was 2 things that I was worried about. I was like, I don't know what it's gonna be like to push out a baby. Is it gonna be horrible? The ring of fire scared the crap out of me. Just wait till later. And also just the contractions in the end, like how strong will they be? Like transition. I was like, how bad is that gonna be? You hear all these horror stories, so I was just like really scared. I was really scared of those 2 things, even though I'd overcome so many fears leading up to this to get into a positive mindset, but those were the 2 fears that like still like lingered. So she checked me an hour later at 4-ish, and I was 4 centimeters. So I made it a centimeter in an hour, and I was like, ugh. But then she said, you know what? Let's admit you right now. Because I think she was waiting for me to get a 5, but she's like, you're over your due date, let's just admit you. So I was like, thank you. So at that point, I was feeling kind of discouraged after being in there for an hour. I was feeling more discouraged. I was like, ugh. So I texted my doula. I was like, yeah, I'm struggling right now, but I was gonna go get in the shower. So I was really looking forward to that. So as soon as we got in there and they got like the wireless monitor on me and everything, I got in the shower immediately. And that was definitely helpful, but it felt like just at the edge of what was manageable for me. Like every single one that came, it felt like it really stretched me. Like, can I really handle this? And in between each contraction, I would really question like, can I handle this? I don't know if I can do this. Can I do this? And I was like really doubting myself, and I was picturing different things. I was picturing like, I was trying to picture the peak of the contraction, but I kept having like double peaks, so that was really annoying. And then I was picturing this like balloon thing inflating and then flying up. And then I was trying to tell myself like, you can do this. And then I was saying like, you know, every single contraction, you're getting more like practice on what to do. So by the time you get to the end, you're gonna have a lot of practice of mentally making it through each contraction. So it was like in between each contraction was like a bit of a mental battle for me. And I just kept thinking like, I want to rest. I need rest. I want to rest. I'm tired. And at that point I started feeling like, I think I'm gonna need the epidural because I really need rest. I'm just so tired. And the reason, especially because I hadn't slept since midnight, but also because in between each contraction was so tiring with me being like, can I handle this? When's the next one coming? So it's like in between each one, I wasn't really resting. I was like stressing myself out. So at like 5:30, I think I was 5 centimeters then, probably. I didn't have her check me for a bit. I think she was like, "Do you want me to check you?" I was like, "No, I don't see what the point is at this point. Let's just keep going." I said to Nick, like, "Ugh, I feel like a failure. I feel like I can't do this. I feel like I can't handle this. I just don't know how I'm gonna do this, and I just don't feel like I'm handling this very well." And I just felt so down on myself. So he called the doula and he's like, "I think you should probably come now." So she came, and that was exactly what I needed. It gave me my second win. So at 5:45-ish, I lost my mucus plug. Kind of gross. It all came out. And my doula got there a little bit after, when I was like 6 centimeters in the 6 o'clock hour. My centimeters were like following the clock hour, which is interesting, right? My doula got there at 6:20-ish. And she immediately like took over the space and helped create like the perfect space. She like dimmed the lights. She got the peanut ball out and like lowered part of the bed. And she's like, "You wanna try this?" And she put like the sheet over it. And like, so we tried out kneeling on the peanut ball. And then she's like, "Do you wanna try the nitrous?" And this was the game changer for me. Cause I was feeling so down. I really like felt like I just want to rest, you know? I got the nitrous. It's like the gas, you breathe it in a bunch of times in this like mask, and then in between contractions, whatever, and build it up. Not everyone likes it. But my friend had just used it and told me that, she explained it really well. She said it doesn't take away your pain, but it helps you not really care about the pain as much. So that is very true. It alleviated my anxiety in between and helped me relax. So I felt like I could finally relax and rest in between contractions. That was a lifesaver. And at that point, from there on, I never thought about the epidural again, which is weird. That I thought about it the first half, and then I didn't think about it the second half, when you'd think I'd be thinking about it the most. Weird, right? So I did a bunch of contractions leaning on the peanut ball with my knees down on the bed like that, peanut ball knees. And at some point I was like, "Oh, I need to go to the bathroom. I need to keep peeing. It's really important, really important. You're hydrating and you're peeing. Two very important things. It's not just like, oh, recommended. It's like, you need to do that." So I was like, I need to go to the bathroom, having a hard time peeing. It was hard to relax enough to pee. So she's like, "Okay, let's go. Let's try some contractions on the toilet." And I was like, no, I absolutely did not want to do that. But she's like, "Let's just try it." And I was like, probably a good idea, because I knew the toilet was really good for laboring on, because it like naturally relaxes your pelvic floor, but I was like, absolutely not. But I did it. So on the toilet, I had Nick sit right in front of me in the chair, and every time a contraction came, I basically stood up and like lunged forward and tackled him like I was a football player, and I yelled. Not a high-pitched yell, but it was a yell. It was like, "Ah!" Like this, like wild roar. It kind of surprised me a little bit, but also not, because I'm a loud person, so I figured that would happen. It was a very loud yell, and it was like a release. I think it was important. You know, I'd like to be the person who just like breathed through everything, but maybe I will be that next time. I don't know. But this time I had to roar through everything, and it felt right. So I tackled the living daylights out of him. I yelled through every single contraction, and then my body started just pushing a little bit in each contraction, which freaked me out, because I'd be like, "Ah, I'm pushing. I'm not trying to, but I'm pushing." It's like a little bit of a push. I was like, "What was that?" So she's like, "Okay, do horse lips." Like, so every time a contraction comes, she'd be like, "Horse lips, horse lips." I'd be like, "Ah." And I would do horse lips, I guess, to like help me not to push somehow. And she kept like really encouraging me, my doula, and being like, "No, you're doing really well." I'd be like, "It's so hard." She's like, "You're doing such great work. You're doing such a good job," blah, blah, whatever. Encouraging me. And that really helped, because it's just like, am I doing this right? Is it going okay? I don't know. And it's interesting. I didn't think like, am I gonna get my VBAC? Is this gonna work out? Is my uterus gonna rupture? Which is a very incredibly small percentage chance in a VBAC, but if you look up the numbers. But I didn't think about any of that stuff. I just like felt very confident in it in the moment, which was good. The only thing was, I was like, can I handle the pain? Was the only thing I was thinking, if there was a negative thought. So then they had to fix my IV on my hand, because in the shower previously, I think it had started to get loose. So they come over to do my IV, and they tried like 10,000 times in 10,000 places in between contractions. They could not get it in. And it's interesting because I'm a person who, I used to be very terrified of needles. In labor, I didn't give one rip. I was just like, whatever, poke me everywhere, I don't even care. So they would just poke me everywhere for the IV. It didn't give one rip. There were so many pokes. I think the total time was like 8 or 7, Nick was telling me, but I was just like, keep trying, I don't really care. They finally got it in. We finally finished the toilet contractions and I get back to the bed. Oh my gosh. Oh, and in one of the contractions, when I stood up, my water broke and just a little bit came out. And I was like, oh, my water broke, a little came out. But there wasn't a big gush, so only part of it came out. Okay, she's laying in my lap right now. I had to come back and film this part. So anyway, we finished the toilet contractions, which were very intense. And then I'm like in transition around this point, my doula was saying. I don't remember this personally, but she says I was like stumbling to the bed and like kind of out of it. So apparently I was really out of it. I just remember kind of like being in the zone at this point. And I get back to the nitrous and things started to get even more, I mean, that was really intense in the toilet, but they're getting even more intense. And I'm still having those contractions where I'm pushing a little bit each time by accident, like not on purpose. And apparently the midwife came up and asked to check me and I said yes. I don't even remember this. So she checked me and she said, okay, she's 9 centimeters with a little bit of a lip, a partial lip. And my doula said it was on the front, which was good because I was on hands and knees. Like it was good I was on hands and knees because of that. So that would help the lip. That would help it like get unstuck or something. I don't quite understand that part. So then things started to pick up to like pushing. It wasn't just like a little push each time. It was like the real pushing time. And she said I did like the real pushing time, as I'm calling it, for like 20 to 30 minutes. And basically it wasn't a moment where the midwife was like, okay, you're at 10 centimeters, time to push. That didn't happen. She just came in and after she said I was at 9, she was like, yeah, just listen to your body. If you start to feel like you should push, then push, whatever. And I was like, okay, good, because that's what I plan on doing, listening to my body. And I wanted to be able to like tune in. So my body just started pushing. I don't know if I was at 10 at that point or I was still at 9, but it just started pushing these like roaring pushes as I'm roaring like a wild animal. And my doula did confirm that yes, I was one of the louder births in her experience and range of noise level, which is not surprising because I am a louder person. So I'm just like roaring through each one of these pushes. They're really intense, they're strong, and I'm always wondering like, is the head coming out? Is the head not coming out? And this is like the moment where people are saying like, you're doing a good job, and where Nick's like, you're doing so well, you're doing a good job. And for some reason, when he said that in the pushing phase, I don't know what it was about that stage, but when he said that, I don't know, it like gave me the energy that I needed, and it was like so encouraging in that moment for some reason. And it was like everything I needed. It was such, I don't know why it was such an amazing moment, such a like simple thing. So I was a little confused. I'm like, am I really pushing? Like you always hear in the stories, they're like, okay, you're 10 centimeters, now let's push. Okay, hold your breath, you're on your back, blah, blah, blah. I'm on my knees, on a peanut ball. No one told me to push. My body's just doing it and I'm just feeling it. I'm just going for it. And it was just crazy. So then I wasn't really paying attention. I was like, had my eyes closed this whole time. And apparently everyone's like filing in, getting ready to like catch her and everything. And I didn't really know what was going on. I was just like, is the head coming out now? Is it? And then I didn't have to wonder, because then I felt the ring of fire, which was something I'd always been scared of. It sounded like horrible torture. And you know, it did hurt, but like, it wasn't like I thought it would be. It was like, I was yelling, burning! But it wasn't like, kill me now, I'm gonna die burning. By the way, kill me now is what my mom yelled when she had me. Because she had Pitocin and no epidural with me. She used the epidural after, all births after that, but she yelled, kill me now. So anyway, I felt the ring of fire. I was like, okay, this is the head, this is it. And I felt her head, and then for the first time, midwife said, push. So I actually had to intentionally push the first time as her head was like halfway out. And by the way, they said, I see hair. And I was like, what? Hair? There's no way. Barrett was bald and blonde. Like, there's no way they're seeing hair. I was so confused. I kind of ignored that. So they're like, push. So I did a push and the head came out, and I knew it came out. I was like, wow. And then I knew it was the body. So then that was the second time where they're like I had the big push happen again. They're like, big push. So I gave it a big push. Her body came out. and they like slipped her under me. Remember, I'm on my hands and knees. She came out head up, so she was in the perfect position. Her spine was not against my spine. She was not posterior, in the perfect position you'd want, which I worked so hard to get her into. I worked really hard on that with spinning babies and everything. So she comes out head up while I'm on my hands and knees, and Nick caught her, and then they like bring her and like slip her kind of under. I'm like still on my hands and knees and like looking down like, this is my baby, and she has black hair. I'm like, what? This is my baby? Black hair? What the heck? So they like help me flip onto my back, and I'm holding her, and I'm just like, I'm like, I did it. I can't believe I did it. Oh my gosh. I'm like freaking out. Can't believe I did it. So after I get on my back and I'm like holding her, they help me on my back, and I'm just like laying there in disbelief. I can't believe this happened. The placenta is out like 15, maybe less, 5 minutes, I don't know, later. Came like right out, no complications there. Whew. And that was, they just like, give it a push. So I gave it a push, and it was all good. So I told you Nick caught her, then Nick cut the cord, and we waited a while to have her weighed, and the nurse picked her up, and she's like, oh, she's kind of like stuck on something. And then she like carried her away, went to go weigh her, and she came back. She's like, okay, she wasn't stuck on something. She was just very heavy. I wasn't expecting that. And they're like, guess how much she weighed? And I was like, well, I had a dream that I had my VBAC and she was 9 pounds 9 ounces, but she couldn't have been that big, could she? And they're like, she was 10 pounds 1 ounce. And I was shook. Then I'm just like, I had a 10-pound baby. I had a 10-pound VBAC. I had a 10-pound baby with no epidural. I was just like shook. I'm like, what? This is one of those things that I feel like people say is like impossible. Like, oh, you can't have a 10-pound baby. That would be horrible. That would be impossible. Blah, 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 whatever. So, like, VBACs are supposed to be like impossible. Not using the epidural is supposed to be like impossible. So I was basically on cloud 9 at that point, except for the tearing situation. I was like, okay, what happened there? And my OB came in. They had him come in to do my repair, and he said I had a 2nd degree tear, which apparently is a lot more common than I thought. I looked it up after because I was like, how common is that? Apparently it's pretty common. And I was terrified of the stitching for whatever reason. It wasn't as bad as I thought at all. So I'm not gonna be scared of that very much next time, because I really built up in my head like it would be the worst thing ever, and it wasn't. And I was pretty surprised that that was all that happened for a 10-pound baby, but I mean, my body really did it. Did I eat during labor? I didn't mention that. I had some honey sticks and fruit snacks. Like right before, a little bit before I pushed, like maybe an hour, a half hour before, my doula was like, you know, you should get some food in you before you push so you have some energy. So I'm like scarfing down fruit snacks really fast. I wasn't that hungry anyway, but it gave me a little bit of good energy, and I had my electrolyte water. That was great. And one thing that I was wondering was, am I gonna say like something crazy during labor? Because you always hear people like yelling out crazy things, like I said with my mom. I didn't say anything wild, crazy at all. So that was interesting. And by the way, she was born at 9:17 p.m. on a Monday, which Bear was born on Monday in August, same, at 9:11 p.m. Weird. And 10 pounds, 1 ounce. Crazy, 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 crazy. Yeah, I just want to say, like, if you're doubting yourself, don't doubt yourself. Don't think you have to be some like perfect Zen, whatever person to do this, because you don't. All right, here's my little black-haired girl. I'll insert some pictures so you can see her face more, because I don't want to be like putting her in the camera. But anyway, I just came up the stairs. She is like really chill, very different than Barrett. They're so cute together. He loves her so much. It's so cute. And she's just so sweet. I'm just so happy to have her and to have 2 kids in the house. I was gonna say running around, not running around. Yeah, I just want to say, don't get down on yourself. Don't psych yourself out. Don't let anyone tell you like what you can't do. Build yourself up, believe in yourself, and know that you can do a lot more than you think you can, and you can handle so much more than what you're thinking you can. You really can do this. Like you have this, you have it in you. You do. I just kept thinking of reasons why I wouldn't have it in me, and you need to think of reasons why you do have it in you. You don't have to have something special about you. I'm telling you, my pain tolerance, I would not describe that as a high pain tolerance. I've had like my whole life such a crippling fear of blood and needles and everything. I've gotten over it a lot within pregnancy and birth, but I've had such a crippling fear. I don't do pain that well. Like, no one has ever said I have a great pain tolerance. My mom never said that about me. I'm not this zen, like relaxed breathing person. Like, that's not me. So I just thought like you have to be that to be able to do this, but you don't. So to end this video, I just want to say, anyone who has given birth, I just have so much respect for anyone in any way that you've given birth. And I want to say to not shame yourself. This is so common, no matter like how you give birth, to shame yourself, to be like, oh, this happened, therefore I failed, or my body failed, or I'm not strong, or whatever, like I got the epidural, or I had a C-section, or my vaginal birth wasn't like this or like that, or whatever it was. People so often shame themselves, which is just so uncalled for. You do not need to shame yourself. You had a child. I don't care like what happened. Yes, you might have had trauma, and that should definitely be like addressed and validated, but shame doesn't need to be there. You don't need to be hating on yourself, getting down on yourself. Like, you just went through a lot. No matter how it happened, it was a lot. Growing a baby and having that baby and raising that baby, it's a lot. So no matter how it happened, you need to pat yourself on the back. People were even shaming me for not getting an epidural, which is kind of weird and rude. You should not be shaming anyone, especially right after they gave birth. So don't do that. But anyway, we just need a lot less shame, and it starts with us. So because I'm not shaming myself for not getting an epidural, when someone else shamed me, it doesn't hurt as much. But when you are shaming yourself, it just makes it 10 times worse. So please don't shame yourself. Please give yourself a pat on the back. Don't call yourself a failure. Don't call your body a failure. It's totally okay to be disappointed, to be crushed, to have trauma that you need to work through. Like, that's just a fact if it happened, but you don't need to add shame onto that. So like I said, I'm gonna have those 2 videos linked below, and I'm gonna be making the video of like what really helped the most in the moment, and like what prep I'm really glad I did and all that stuff, and like the courses I took. I'm gonna have all that in a video, and you can let me know anything you wanna know, and you can comment below any questions you have that you want me to like answer in the next video. I can do like a Q&A video or something too. That might be a good idea, in addition to the like prep video. But there's the prep video of what I did below to check out. But yeah, let me know if you can think of any other videos you want me to do, because I would love to talk about this, and I have plenty to say. Of course, my favorite topic. So I can just talk about all of it. Or let me know what videos you want. I will see you guys in the next video. I can't wait to make more videos about this. One of the best experiences of my life. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.